I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
On this episode of The Gloom, we've got a very special man who's phoning in from a land far, far away. No, he's joining us, from his new location, but was previously a Redwood and also our third FQ. Helped us get a lot of things moving in the third F space, and excited to talk through just his journey with our man Lemon Law today. So Lemon Law, excited to see you. It's been a while. You look good.
Thank you.
We definitely miss you, but why don't you walk us through just kind of that first workout? What was that like? How awkward was it? And then where's the name Lemon Law come from?
Well, I'll answer that first, maybe because it technically was not my first F3 workout. So that was F3Omaha launched end of April 2018. The beginning, I got involved with F3 because one of my best friends lives in Greensboro, North Carolina, where Wait Time came from. So Wait Time had just messaged people in Greensboro, was like, hey, who do you guys know in Omaha? And so my buddy gave him my name, my email, and my buddy Cornhole is his F3 name out there, who I think a few of you have maybe met or ran with as he's visited here, but visited Omaha. So that was at the beginning of February of 2018. I randomly get an email from Wait Time saying, hey, I'm going to start F3 Omaha. Are you interested? I'm like, yes. My buddy Cornell's been telling me about this. I'm interested. Unbeknownst to me, my wife had planned with Cornhole like a surprise trip for me to go out there and visit him, just because I haven't seen him in a while personally. So I flew out there. My first beatdown was Cornwallis Nightmare. End of February 2018, and that's where I got my name Lemon Law, because at the time, and also when I started for most of my time in F3 Omaha, I was doing compliance and other work for Woodhouse Auto, based there in Omaha. So that's how I got my F3 name, how I got started in F3. In terms of the first workout, my first F3 workout, because I just did the one in Greensboro, was horrible. And I kind of started moving a little bit more between then, taking some walks or something just to get used to movement between the end of February and the end of April. So luckily the beatdown itself for the very first F3 Omaha beatdown was not as severe as I expected. I was definitely winded. I mean, I was still completely out of shape. Definitely winded, sore, all of that. But the Oracle, that area has a special spot for me just because of that first beat down.
I forgot that story. I do remember you sharing that before though. So you were one of the few guys at that initial workout that already had a name, probably. Yeah.
So if you see the name around me, and I know it's always Nodos is the most famous guy because he's like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. That look on his face. But yeah, so like it's me and like Wait Time and a couple of guys who had already been working out with Wait Time. We're the only ones with the name.
Nice. So how were you doing fitness wise, or life wise? Where were you at before you kind of started F3? Were you was that something you needed, or what got you ready to step into that?
Definitely. I mean, I think just how bad I was sucking wind. I'll just say February and in April of 2018. How bad I was sucking was just fitness-wise so indicative of where I was at. It was very telling because it was the fall before, actually. We were visiting family down in Arkansas, and my daughter was 2.5, 3 at the time. No, when she was like about 3 years old, we were down there. And she just started running. We're out on a walk. She just started running. And all of a sudden she's like a block and a half, 2 blocks ahead of us. And I'm like running to catch up with her. I'm like, I need to do something. So really, I already knew, like, if nothing else, I need to be in shape to be able to run down my kids. And so horrible shape. I'd worked out, you know, every once in a while, I'd like, I should get working out. And like, you know, I was a gym member for a while, you know, did my own running plan for a while, but you know, it just doesn't stick. I'm just doing it by myself kind of deal. Gyms are just kind of depressing places because you don't really, you might know somebody. This just you and the TV. There wasn't even a fern at the gym that I was at, so to speak.
Yeah.
So fitness wise, that's where I was at. And when, you know, when I was excited to see F3Omaha start when I got that email from Waytime, because something else that Cornhole had told me about is just like, it's not just the exercise. He had already talked to me about the second F, the third F, and second F wise, you know, did I have guys I hung out with in Omaha area? I did, but you know, at that point, most of them were husbands of my wife's friends. They weren't my friends, so it was kind of like we didn't really connect outside of the times as couples got together. So I definitely needed some fellowship. I mean, I have some solid friendships. There's a bunch of guys that I've known since high school, and we have been solid, great friends since high school. But except for one, none of them are in Omaha, and the idea of having someone right there, I was really looking forward to.
You quickly took on a leadership role, kind of in the third F space. But tell me about your journey there from a third F perspective. What led you, or were you passionate about that before, or you were just filling a need, or how did that come to fruition there?
Passionate, filling a need, yeah, definitely both of those. Before F3, personal faith is big for me, and that's always good to be able to grow in my own personal faith. But along with that, acts of service. Faith-wise, I'm a Christian, and we talk about spiritual gifts in the church, and one of which is service, and that is definitely something I have the spiritual gifts for. I just want to be able to go out and do some concrete thing to help them. Sometimes it's just writing the check, but sometimes it's showing up at like Heartland Hope. I had done that a few times before F3 Omaha. But that was something that I was very active in. And then when I got married, it kind of tapered off. And then it wasn't really happening. So when F3 Omaha came around again, like, oh, hey, I love service. Let's do this. And so I've always had that passion for service. And I think Selleck did a great job of organizing some stuff early on, and I know some other packs were stepping up. Reba, I think, was the first person when I went to help out at Abide that summer with, it was like a Saturday day camp. So some of the early members were like, hey, let's go do something. Like, yes, I'm in, done. And then I think it was actually 2019 when, like, I just thought, you know, I'd like to do more, maybe help out more. And Selleck was still doing kind of third F stuff, also doing comms, but he was just so busy. So I'm like, hey, I remember reaching out to Waytime, like, hey, does Selleck need help with anything? And so Waytime was like, well, actually, can you just be like a third FQ kind of person? I'm like, sure. And it's not like I was seeking it, but it's definitely, there was a need there. And, you know, I knew I wasn't going to be doing everything. So because we have packs who love to serve. So I'm like, yeah, I'm in. So I just helped get that off the ground.
I think it's interesting because as we got more guys, as we start to grow, then the ideas just start coming out of, we want to do this and we want to do this. And so having a point person,
yep,
I think was a need definitely there. What, as you think about third F and your story kind of about fellowship, reminds me of the Free to Lead book, but how has, I mean, your journey with F3 and some of the Free to Lead or Q Source, just other book studies, how has that stuff kind of
I think so. Admittedly, so I've read Free to Lead. I've actually led some discussions on it. Admittedly, I've not read all of. I've only dabbled in the Q source. So, but in terms of Free to Lead, I think what I really like about that book is that it helps to what's the word? It brings forth, like, here's what's going on with men these days. You know, we've got the sad clown syndrome. I never even heard about that. You know, like you've got the sad clown syndrome. You're sitting at home. The whole fellowship aspect. We are made to be in fellowship, and just how he's like, hey, are you really in true fellowship with someone who is right there with you, or do you just have your work friends or your wife's friends' husbands? Like, do you actually? And it's not to say that your wife's friend's husband isn't your best friend either. But it really helped kind of illuminate the problems that we have as men in life, and just like, and I like that it's also not we're the only solution to it. This is the only leadership guide you'll ever need. Is like, here's where we think we fit in, and when you experience it, you realize it does fit in, and it's a great way to address that. We know it's not for everyone. But it's just a really great way to address the problems we have, because we sit at home, we're not active. We sit at home, we don't have friends. We sit at home, we're not out in our community leading.
Have you seen, how has that been, just adjusting, you know, because you mentioned your kids are younger and now you're living in a location that doesn't have F3, and so then as kind of the flux or life has happened, what's been your experience with just like, how do you manage those transitions, or have you found a way to do that well?
I wouldn't say I'm doing it well. Yeah, it was to do kind of balance stuff. It was somewhat easier at the beginning. And then my third son was born May 2019, and having that third young one really kind of changed schedule demands, because at that point when I joined F3, my other son was already 2. He was my youngest. So it just kind of changed time demands. So I know I definitely started posting less at that point. And then as we moved, so I've been in Kearney since December. Not having someone to like go to not having a purpose to go meet someone at a park at 5:30 in the morning. The only 2 times I've worked out since I moved, honestly, is when there's 2 short stints. We visited Gretna, went back home to visit Gretna, and I posted at the Dragon's Lair. You know, who wants to go work out at 5:30 by themselves when it's 0 degrees? So now that the weather's turning around, is nice. You know, it's definitely something that as I start making connections, because I don't really have connections here yet, starting to make that. And, you know, like, hey, who might be interested in the F3 thing here? But fellowship wise, you know, I'm definitely missing fellowship, missing being in person with guys I know and can just share life with. And that was something that even before we moved to Kearney, now since I moved to Kearney, like as I meet guys, I'm like, I know I need, it's not I need friends. It's like, I need guys that I can rely on and that they can rely on me, that deeper level of friendship.
Yeah, I remember several of the book studies that we've done together, and just having that core group is, I don't know, it's hard to explain why that is so helpful, but I'm the same way. You know, I think the challenge I'm running into with having a newborn or a 3-month-old is, you know, I want to tell a guy that I'll be there tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll, you know, like what happens between the hours of, you know, 10 and 4 a.m. One of the kids could wake up and I may need to stay home. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge for me, but it sounds like you've maybe been there too. What, just in your time with F3, as you kind of experienced the initial kickoff and the growth and, you know, a lot of different packs coming in and out, what have been some of your favorite memories or stories, anything there that you would share that you remember?
I told Khakis this at my last Q. My favorite memory is watching Khakis during the first 1776 he did. And this is really more about a story about Khakis than the packs, I guess, but it's really indicative of a lot of guys where, we have to end with that stupid bear crawl, and which I hate. And so I look over and we're at the Oracle. The bear crawl goes downhill from the top from where the shovel flag is. And he's bear crawling, just slogging along. And then he just has to stop bear crawling. And if I have to stop bear crawling, then I just default to modifying to lunges, just lunge walk. And then I see him, he's over there, he's bear crawling. And then he just starts crawling on his hands and knees. And then he bear crawls a little bit more, goes back to hands and knees. The man's literally crawling to the finish. And I love the determinism, how determined he was to get that done. And to not even get up, lunge it and modify it. It's he was just that was the most, it was kind of awe-inspiring. And I bring up Khaki specifically because it was him, but it's indicative of a lot of efforts that I've seen the packs take over the years of, I need to be better. I'm going to keep pushing myself and keep pushing and keep pushing, even if it's figuratively or literally crawling on my hands and knees to get there.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. I think, especially we all come into F3 at a different spot, in our lives or in our story. And so I think, it's amazing to see the transformation happen, but to at some point get to that, determination, and not only determined, but also empowered, right, by the support of all the other guys there that are really on and cheering you on. The
fact that guys are constantly circling back, sorry to interrupt, that we're constantly circling back to pick up the 6. Yeah. That is an awesome thing that we do in F3 Omaha. I've been at another region where they don't really do that. Smaller postings, but it's and I noticed it because I was the 6, which I'm sure if you know me, if you're listening to this, you know me, you're probably not surprised I was the 6. And they knew, I was posting there, they knew I was in F3 and all that already. So maybe it was some familiarity, but they weren't circling back. I'm why aren't we doing this?
Yeah, there's something really special about not only the support that the guy feels, but also the humility it takes the guys that are at the front. You got to have both hands in the group. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I know you've had just various injuries, or have not always been able to participate in all of the different things. But I something I've appreciated about you is you've always found a way to still be there when you can and modify. And I think sometimes a guy will say, well, I can't do that, so I'm just not going to show up, and then they miss out on everything else. But what's been your journey in that front, or just your motivation to still come out and do what you can just to be a part of it? How is that?
Well, I would say it's been a Jekyll and Hyde, because I have been, even when I've been, there have been times I'm not even going to bother. And so, because I tore my calf muscle several times over a 2-year span. And that was just kind of just bringing me down at times. But there are times, I remember the last CSOP I did it would have been a little over a year ago. There was something wrong with my knee. There's still something wrong with my knee. And there's no way I'm going to be able to go site to site. But it was just, I guess the service part of me is okay, I'm not going to be able to necessarily actively participate in the full CSOP. I can help with the beatdowns from time to time, but I can still help out in some way. I guess that's why I show up. I can still help out, particularly at a CSOP when it was when we did the Omaha the foundation last summer. I wasn't going to do the beatdown, but I was still going to help out, and I guess that's why I show up. And I think I know there have been times when I specifically shown up injured knowing that like somebody else was going to be there. Like, okay, that person's injured. I know it's important for them to have someone with them.
Absolutely. And you have a couple guys that you're pretty close with. I feel like Crab Cakes and also with Gipper. Those are some of the guys that I feel like were always around. And I think I'm going to share something with you, and maybe you were here, you were at the pit for this workout, but Gipper had just shared that the workout he did was kind of in honor or tribute to you. So he was talking about his VQ, and you were his co-Q, and just how you continue to pick him up. You taught him kind of the ropes, how to design a workout, how to design a back blast, but ultimately just that value that you demonstrate, right? You show guys how to pick each other up, how to support each other, and teach each other. So I think that was really cool. And I guess my question for you, as you're thinking about the guys, do you still have that shield lock, or have you been able to keep in touch with some of the guys in the Omaha packs? Or
Yeah, no, Gipper and I, he's actually coming. He and his family are coming this weekend to visit.
Nice.
I know Crab Cakes and his family have talked about coming out to visit, and when we've been back to Omaha or Gretna, we've visited with both families. In fact, Gipper's family, I could not make it, but my family was hanging out with Gipper and his family, and they gave my family the stomach flu. So it was a nice gift from them last week. Yeah.
True friend.
Yeah. Sure. Of course, the whole family got it, but no, we keep in touch. I'm horrible about keeping up in touch via like text and phone. So that's something I've been trying to work on, like texting even both of them just randomly sometimes. I could definitely do better about that. So, and there's been other guys, like I was actually just texting with some guys earlier today, like Sparty and Wentworth. Just, hey, here's kind of an update on me, and they're giving me their updates and just had some encouraging words for me. So definitely been trying to keep in touch. There's definitely a lot of guys I would like to keep in touch with. Like I reached out to Wait Time even this morning, like, hey, I haven't seen Wait Time since November now. So I'm like, hey, let's catch up. So yeah, I definitely am trying to make an effort to not just be like the meet with you face to like at the Gloom face to face, like actually like text, talk, whatever, to try to like maintain a relationship, trying to work on that part.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's, it's funny how simple it is sometimes. And as men, we kind of forget. And then, the thing I've really appreciated is most of the guys in our group are pretty understanding, and I have yet to receive a text back that's, I'm not talking to you because you haven't texted me in a month or whatever. Right.
Right.
Which is good. I do think the other thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, because we started, didn't even have a third FQ. Then you filled that spot for a while. And then as we progressed, we got to the point where you got to participate in a F3Omaha Foundation, which is kind of like, from like just this very, very bare bones to like full scale. Now we have our own foundation for the region. What was that experience like, or what was your involvement there? Did you get to continue your leadership and growth in that aspect, or how'd that work out?
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. And I'm disappointed that I'm not really part of it anymore. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have been involved otherwise, but I just happened to be the third FQ at the time. And, Sparty just started having this idea. So Tater Tie's like, hey, why don't you get a hold of Charles? Or Lemon Law, he's the third FQ. So that's how I like started talking with him about it. I'm like, man, this is exciting. And then it's like, yeah, let's raise some money. And then it's like, hey, like, let's legit have like it was really great to see how it goes from this like literally a little seed of figuratively a little seed of an idea, and all of a sudden there's this huge tree. Like, what that is, like a truckload of miracle grow sticking on that little seed to how we got there so fast. And I think we did it really well. just from Sparty's idea, and then starting to think bigger. Like we weren't like, I just remember talking to Tater Tot, like, do we want to have like a scholarship foundation or just a foundation? Because we want to do more than just scholarships eventually. Like, and at that point, it's like, maybe in a couple of years we want to do more than a scholarship. And now it's like, not even a year later, like, let's do more than a scholarship. And so it's like, it's great how this idea has just taken off and really kind of spurred a lot of, I think this in itself has helped spur a ton of Third F involvement and activity throughout F3 Omaha that there would still be Third F activity without the foundation, but I don't know if it would be at the level it is without the foundation and without it.
Yeah, no, it's been cool. You think about like some of the things like, Boys Town, providing basketball hoops for Boys Town and being able to match PAX donations with foundation dollars. Right. Stuff like that just, it almost doubles the impact in many, many instances. Curious your thoughts, so Fitness Fellowship and Faith, a lot of times when we're trying to somebody, right, we tell them this group F3, Fitness Fellowship and Faith, and that faith or that Third F is kind of where a lot of guys are like, I'm not so sure, right? And just curious your thoughts. What does faith mean to you in terms of F3, and how do we approach that conversation with guys in the community?
Well, I mean, I think there's faith itself kind of has two components when talking about the Third F. Because there's your personal faith, and we don't push any particular faith. It's, for me, the faith. I remember doing a COT once where, like, you don't have to have my faith, but I want you to have a faith, a philosophy that you are following, because you can't just make up your own rules for life. You have to have something that's external to keep you in check. So, and the Q source kind of addresses that, I think, too, from what the few parts of it I've read, where it's like, you need to be challenged by an external source. The Q source may reference the Bible, but that's just one source, whatever your faith may be. And you need to be challenged by external men. Like, hey, here's this kind of agreed upon set of tenets of our faith or philosophy or whatever we are going to follow. You're not doing that. Like, what's up with that? So I think that's the personal faith side. And then I think that if there's any faith or philosophy that doesn't address serving others and helping others and being in your community, that's the second part of the Third F, is being in the community, giving back time, money, whatever it is. And if there's any faith or philosophy that thinks it's not important or just doesn't even care about it, I think it's probably just a philosophy or something that was made up just to serve yourself. And for me, it's hard to separate why you would not want to help those around you in the service aspect. You have resources, time, experience, skills that they're just not for you. I think we are all gifted with something to be able to give back to those around us.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because you think about the phrase like, I am third, and
yep,
it's like this, if you already have a strong faith, let's say, like, you and I are both Christians, right? So the way it should work, it doesn't work this way every day for me, but I should be getting filled up enough by my relationship with God, with Jesus, that I am filled up and overflowing to the people around me. I also think, though, for a guy that maybe doesn't know where he lands, I think service is a good place to kind of like explore and just get out there and kind of feel the impact of a higher power or a power outside of themselves. I think just reading, I think this from F3's website, but really it's just belief in something outside of yourself. It's the dynamite. It's where a man is not just showing up for a workout or fellowship. He's looking outside of himself and how he can serve others. So spot on to what you said is, serving others is, it's got to be, something that we're focused on and thinking about. And it also, I think, takes away from some of the anxiety or problems people have when you do maintain a self-centered focus. You can get wrapped up in your own problems if the world is only as small as your life, you know. So I think
Yes.
definitely appreciate what you said there. What else? What other things? Just pieces of your story would guys maybe not know, or would you want to share?
Um, hmm. uh, I would say one thing. I think I've talked to a few guys about this, but you know, I am prone to. I wouldn't call it depression, but just prone to being in a funk sometimes. Um, and I would say that's come up. I remember talking with Uncle Rico once about that, and just because he was battling the same thing, and I think that's where, in terms of like, particularly in terms of, it kind of fits into the third F, but like also the fellowship part, where it's just how important it is to be able to talk with people, to have a set of guys to go to, you know, whether you know, shield lock, or maybe you just need to tell the group during announcements of prayer, just like, hey, things aren't going well. I think it's super important that we be comfortable saying my life is not okay. I think, you know, definitely, and on the kind of a flip side or a companion to that, we have to be able to be comfortable by saying my life is okay, and there's something that's great that happened. To be able to just share what's going on in our lives, but particularly when it's not great. And to be able to share that with your shield lock, with the packs after a beatdown. And I mean, that's the starting step. And my wife is a counselor, and she has said this once, and I kind of believe everybody can use a counselor at some point, even if it's just a maintenance check. You get maintenance on your car, you should get maintenance on yourself, on your life. And so, just kind of breaking through the stigma of like, guys don't talk about their problems. We need to talk about our problems, even if it's with your shield lock. If you need to escalate it because it's so bad that you need to see a counselor, don't hold back from that. But just be able to talk about your problems.
Yeah, I love that. And like you said, you don't have to share all the details if you're not comfortable, right? But just kind of putting it out there. Hey, I need some prayers because things are tough right now, you know.
Exactly.
There's been a few times the last couple of weeks that I'm only posting a couple times a week, but as I've been posting, and you know, the queue says any prayer requests, and it's kind of silent, and you just know, right, that like, well, we're not all, you know, doing great. So, you know, we've all got something on our heart. So just creating that space where it's safe to share, I think, is really cool.
Exactly. And I think by sharing that, you also then allow someone else to say, hey, that's going on in my life too. Mm-hmm. And to then connect with someone like, hey, thanks for sharing that. I experienced that last month, last year, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just to be able to connect and maybe help each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So often I think for me, the best answer I can get is me too. And then I know, like, okay, it's not just me. And
exactly.
You know, I think that's super helpful. I love that. What about, you know, we'd like to get advice from guys on, you know, how should we be engaging F&Gs, or just, you know, for guys that have been in the group for several years now or coming up on their year anniversary, what are some things we could be doing better or differently, or maybe things we should keep doing to keep guys coming back?
Oh, that's a good question. I think one thing I would say, and this is maybe not F&G focus itself, but I would say to the guys, get to travel around. I know, I can't remember who it was, but I was at a beatdown. Maybe it was one of the 2 times I was visiting. But just the idea of visiting around the sites, particularly because there's been kind of a Sarpy-Douglas divide, so to speak, which nothing wrong with that. But, you know, if you're way down in Sarpy, journey into, you know, take some extra time and drive all the way up to a site in Omaha, and vice versa. Get to know these packs, because you're going to see these names pop up as they present third F and second F opportunities as CSOPs come about. It's been great to meet people through third F stuff. Or, you know, I think Sparty, the first time I met Sparty was at Heartland Hope. It wasn't at a beatdown. But just travel around. kind of get out of your little comfort area of Sarpy or Douglas, wherever it may be. And don't forget Gretna. Gretna seems to be out by itself.
Yeah.
It needs some Sarpy and Douglas county love, which it does get. But so that's one aspect. In terms of FNGs, I think as long as, does an FNG maybe come back because they had a really good workout? Maybe. Does an FNG come back because they see the guys who are there actually caring about each other at the workout, at the cafeteria afterwards? I think that's the key, is that and not just to be in the presence of an FNG, to genuinely care about the other packs in the circle, to genuinely care about the packs at cafeteria, to show genuine relationship to each other. If that's what's going on and FNG sees that, why wouldn't they want to come back?
Oh, that's a great point. Somebody else we had talked to had mentioned the concept of like picking up the six even at a cafeteria, right? Find the guy that's standing there by himself and ask him how his day's, what he's got going on that day. Or, I think we've all been in those moments where it's tempting to just go, to the guys you already know and catch up with them. But yeah, I like that a lot. What about for you? What if we see you at an upcoming workout, if you happen to be in town, or just as we're thinking about you and praying, what do you need prayers or encouragement for?
It's funny you should say that or ask that, because I just got done. So I am technically a financial advisor trainee with Edward Jones. So there's a great opportunity in Kearney for that, but part of that is over the next month, it's just networking and trying to get intros and referrals to build. In May, I will start working with people who are already current clients. But until then, it's just reaching out of my comfort zone because I'm as someone said recently, I'm a very approachable person, but I also realize I'm not a very approaching person. So like work on that, going out and contacting people. This is going to be very much a month of growth, personal growth for me. So yeah, if you want to pray around that, just that I handle it well and don't get too stressed out about it. Particularly as I still try to be there for the kids and my wife.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that is a different career path for you, but I think you'll do great. And I do think you're approachable and trustworthy, and you've got nice facial hair. You've got the look going. Thank you. That's the JC used to work for Edward Jones, didn't he? So that must be that's the
yes.
facial hair they prescribed there, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I've had this for so long. So
yeah, you had it first, I think. I am curious. Anything else? I guess. So I kind of caught it in there. Maybe we need to plan a Kearney shovel flag plant someday. As you get some guys.
I reached out. Yes, I did reach out to Wake Time because I just want to catch up with him, but I want to start figuring out like some pointers on what it would take to get it started here. I know there's an F3 expansion guy with F3 Nation that before I moved, I'm like, hey, is anybody talking about F3 Kearney? He's like, no, do you? I'm like, I'm going to be too busy for like the next 6 months, but I'll get back to you. But I definitely would like to see a shovel flag planted here. I have horrible cell reception in my office, so I'm at the local big park. And like, there's just an awesome place here for some great beat downs and amongst other things. And so, F3 Kearney would be nice. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but it would be nice to have out here.
All right. Well, I'll look forward to that. That'd be fun to make the journey down there. We could clown car it and
clown car. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Well, hey man, I think this is fantastic, and I do think you are missed in the Omaha area, but your presence is still felt. The legacy that you've left here, and obviously you'll come back over time. But it's just hopefully you can see that too. It's just you help to lay that foundation for the foundation, kind of in a sense, right? And it's cool now to see the work that Wentworth is doing with, and now we have 6 or 7 guys helping with Third F stuff. We've grown so much in the area. So really cool just to get to hear your story and experience with all that. But
thank you.
With that, we'll take it out with the Namerama. Sound okay to you?
Yeah.
All right. Brandon Fleharty, 36, The Plague.
Charles Cunningham, 46, Lemon Law.
Lemon Law. Appreciate it, brother.